I'm Beth, your resident musical nerd, back again with another deconstruction, this time from the musical Natasha, Pierre, and the Great Comet of 1812. If you want to know what a deconstruction is, either check out the definition in the description, or go back to my first video where I go into more detail and I credit Seth Rudetsky, a large theater and Broadway presence, for originating deconstructions. Let's get right into it! Disclaimer, I am doing things in a pretty low-tech fashion. I'm just clicking play on my laptop and allowing the audio to blast towards me while I gesture along, rather than layering the audio in on top of my video. So I suggest you research the song on your own and listen to it so you can truly hear what I'm talking about and you can hear the song as it's meant to be heard. Unfortunately, things are just a little tinny. For example, at the beginning, there's a hi-hat that drowns out the bass if you hear it in my video. So after you watch this video, go listen to it on your own so you can hear all the little details that I'm talking about and you can get the best experience out of this song. Now let's get into things. This piece starts out with a hi-hat keeping the beat and a bass. Then some wind instruments come in on the 5th beat of the 2nd count of 8. Josh Groban as Pierre comes in on the 2nd beat of the 3rd count of 8, and then an accordion, which I like to call the signature instrument of Great Comet, comes in on the 2nd beat of the 4th count of 8, mimicking Josh Groban's vocal entrance. And that's cool because it goes against what you would expect from your usual song patterns. Normally you would expect instruments to come in on the 1st or 4th beats of a count of 8, but here Dave Malloy, the composer of Great Comet, plays around with those patterns and expectations by creating his own unique rhythms and patterns rather than getting locked into predictable music patterns. And this creates an off-kilter anticipatory feel, as well as making the dialogue between Josh Groban or Pierre and Lucas Steele playing Anatole seem more natural and flowed rather than, again, getting trapped in rigid song patterns. I'd also like to point out that the accordion comes in and out multiple times. It just hangs out on one note and then resolves in a pop of a chord, and I find that pop really fun. Also, after Josh Groban is singing his part, there's a really pretty wind part that comes in. And not only is it really pretty, it also adds to the anticipatory feel of the song. So let's make all of these observations in real time now. 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Anatole, where are you off to? Pierre, good man, tonight I go away on an adventure. You'll not be seeing me for some time. I found a new pleasure, and I'm taking her away. I'll send you a letter from Poland. An elopement. Fool, you are married already. Don't talk to me of that. I will not deprive myself of this one. Tonight, I take her tonight. Lend me 50 rubles. That's a true sage. Living in the moment. What I wouldn't give to be like him.
Now we just listened to what I call the intro of this song, and we're about to start section A. And I think this song is a very good example of a musical piece having defined sections. In this case, it's A and B, and each time we revisit them, we're going to have more and more elements layered on, and each section is going to get developed more and more. So section A starts out with a driving strings on one note, and then eventually adds on more elements such as orchestra hits and also piano and string chords that sound like this. But Malloy is a little tricky because sometimes he repeats a chord instead of just having that one pattern over and over again, so it sounds like this. So that's something to listen out for. He's a little tricky. I also really, really love Nick Choksi. He plays Dolokhov, Anatole's best friend, and the narrator of this piece. He just is obviously having so much fun. So instead of saying, on the day that Sonia decided to save her, he goes, on the day that Sonia decided to save her. He's just having so much fun and adds so much attitude to this piece. He also has some beautiful vibrato on the word be, in B on her back porch of 10, another thing to listen out for. And again, having so much fun with the piece. Instead of saying Poland High Road, he says to the Poland Die Road. So we're listening for some building of elements and orchestra hits and strings, as well as listening to how much fun this actor is having singing this awesome song.
Give to be like him.
The plan for Natalie Rostova's abduction had all been arranged and the preparations made on the day that Sonia decided to save her. That was the day that the game was to be played. Natasha was to be on her back porch at 10. Anatole and his troika would scoop her up, and then they'd ride 40 miles to the village of Comet, where an unfrocked priest was to make him get wet. Then back into the troika, off they'd go, take the pole and arrow to the wedding bed.
Passports, horses, 10,000 rubles I have taken from my sister, and another 10,000 raised with Dolokhov's help.
We were gathered in my study, drinking up some tea. Just Anatole, the two wedding witnesses, and me. An abacus and paper money strewn on the desk. Persian rugs and bearskins hanging grotesque. Anatole was walking with his uniform unbuttoned, walking to and fro, 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 to and fro. Now wait, you better just give it up.
Now we're getting into section B of this song. So in section B, these strings have an attitude, and I am here for it. Listen to this. And that's Dave Malloy messing around with the chromatics and seconds, which he does everywhere in this musical. I also love how Choksi throws out the word now. Instead of singing, better just give it up now, he goes, give it up now. Also, the instruments double this motif in different octaves to add intensity. So let's listen for all of those things.
Now wait, you better just give it up now. Why don't you, while there's still time, you really better drop it all. Give it up now, while there's still time. Do you know
What? Teasing again, a fool? Don't talk nonsense, go to the devil, eh? Really, this is no time for your stupid jokes.
I am not joking?
And we are back to section A. And here I love how Choksi spits out the word business. He goes, serious business, a dangerous business. He also bites the word here on come here, Anatole. And then one of my favorite parts of this song happens here, in which a sassy string hits after Dolokhov's line, why would I joke about it, me of all people? So it gives me this amazing mental image of Dolokhov going, why would I joke about it, me of all people? And then afterwards there are some drums happening on the ends of beats, so it's bump, 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 bump. And then finally, I love how Choksi says ya instead of you for almost every instance of the word you in this section. He says, do ya just don't care? Now listen to me tell it to ya one last time. And my personal favorite, instead of saying convict you for your crime, he says take you to the courts and convict you for your crime. And it's so fun to listen to. So let's listen to it now.
He says this serious business, a dangerous business. Come here, Anatole. Why would I joke about it, me of all people? Found the priest, raised the money, got the pastors, got the horses.
And will I thank you for it? Do you think that I am not grateful?
And now you'll carry her away, but will they let it stop there? You haven't thought this through, you just don't care. Now listen to me, tell it to you one last time. They will take you to the court to convict you for your crime. Already married and you're playing with a little girl, don't you know? Don't you think? Don't you know?
Nonsense.
And we are back to the section B. And remember the idea of developing these sections? Well, this time there are some strings that play some octave triplets on top of the sassy. And they sound like this. Also, there is a wind instrument that plays this lovely little line twice while Lucas Steele is singing his part. So let's listen to the instruments now.
Nonsense. I'm scowling and grimacing. Didn't I explain it to you, didn't I? What?
And you're Anatole with a stubborn attachment. Small-minded people have for conclusions they worked out for themselves. Repeated his argument to me for the 100th time.
If this marriage isn't valid.
And back to section A again. And this section is fun to listen to because Lucas Steele adds syllables in between his words. I'm not kidding. Instead of saying, but if it is valid, it really doesn't matter, he sings, but if it is valid, it really doesn't matter. And also, he does it again. He says, go to hell now, I'm clutching my hair, instead of I'm clutching my hair. And it's so, so fun. So let's listen to that now.
For the 100th time.
If this marriage isn't valid, then I'm off the hook. But if it is valid, it really doesn't matter. No one abroad is gonna know a thing about it. Isn't that so now? Don't you know? Don't talk to me. Don't, what? Go to hell now, I'm clutching my hair. It's the very devil here. Feel how it beats.
And we are still in section A, but I want to point out this lovely little line that happens. That's not it. That's it. And it's just really, really pretty because it happens on top of these rolling drums that are very driving, and I love the contrast between these driving drums and this gorgeous line that happens. I also want us to listen for a descending chromatic piano/strings line that happens when Anatole is singing, and I also love how all the instruments cut out and there are only the rolling drums before there are some more violin and orchestra hits right at the end. While a beautiful, fantastic piano line happens, it's a falling piano line, and it kind of sounds like a waterfall. I love it so much. And here's the thing. So this track has some orchestra hits and then cuts off very suddenly. And that happens because it's supposed to lead right into the next track, which is also a really fun song, but we're only listening to this one today, so it's just going to be a very sudden, weird cutoff, and we're going to deal with it. So let's listen to all those things now. Really, Anatole?
And my handsome lips mutter something tender to myself. It's time, now that nearly ready you're dawdling. The driver is here, Braga is here. Sonia's good, Natasha's young, and